Off top, Bo Jackson got drafted by two different NFL teams in back-to-back seasons. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm Domonique Foxworth. We just finished watching the draft. Charlie Kravitz is here as usual. I can see him. We're in different locations. I can see him feverishly Googling the off top. I know that's what you're doing. You don't believe me. You didn't like it.
No. I knew he got picked first overall and then got picked this next year by Oakland in the 6th round or 7th. I can't remember after his draft rights lapsed. No, I was furiously Googling how high Dave Winfield got drafted because I was going to one-up you that he got drafted in the NFL, NBA, and MLB draft in the same year.
Ooh, that's pretty impressive. Did you find the answer?
No, I got distracted once you called out my furious Googling. I can't. Who did Bo get drafted by the first time?
I said it was feverish. You weren't angry. You were going at it. What'd you say?
Who did Bo get drafted by the first time?
He got drafted by Tampa Bay.
The Bucks.
Yeah, and he didn't. He refused to play with them because he felt as though they sabotaged his baseball career with a private jet scandal.
I mean, it's crazy that Bo got drafted by the Yankees out of high school and went to Auburn in the first place. Just total course, because he got drafted 50th. He was a second-round pick. That's high. That's normally guys who don't go to college.
Hey, man, love ball. He wanted to tote that thing. He was from down south.
It's a good point. I mean, dude, getting drafted in multiple sports might be the coolest.
Well, I mean, it's pretty cool, but getting drafted in the same sport in back-to-back seasons, I guess it's not as cool, but it's more unique. I assume that no one else has done that. Right? Everyone else threatened to do it and didn't have to. I guess not everyone else John Elway.
There was a massive fear that was going to happen to Larry Bird. They drafted Larry Bird a year early. He was drafted and he went back to school, and they had exactly 12 calendar months to sign him before he would re-enter the draft. And he signed after, 11 months and 25 days, right before the draft. But presumably he would have gone number 2 after Magic in that 1980 draft. Could have changed the entire course of history.
Nah, they would have got him to Boston somehow.
Boston would have traded up and got the pick back anyway.
They would have figured it out.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, there's a lot from this draft actually. It felt like it was headed in to be a pretty boring draft, and then this draft got pretty exciting. So I don't know if you want to start with the major trade, the slide of Shedeur, or what do you want to do?
So I mean, there's a lot we should talk about. To your point, it was a lot of chalk for the first 15 picks, where it was the guys who are highly regarded were going for the most part. But I think we need to start with, just like the draft telecast, we're going to quickly pass over Cameron Ward, who, despite being a lock first overall pick, he didn't even get interviewed on stage. We barely saw him. It immediately got moved on to the trade for Travis Hunter, where it was the Jacksonville Jaguars moving up from 5 to 2, giving up a bunch of draft capital, including a future first-round pick the next year, a second-round pick. Essentially, it's a quarterback haul to move up and get Travis Hunter, who now forms, I imagine he's going to play both ways somewhat. He was listed on the screen as an offensive and defensive draft pick by ESPN when they were going through the first 15 picks. And it forms an incredibly formidable duo with Brian Thomas Jr. for Trevor Lawrence. And I want to know what you think about this trade, because they essentially gave up quarterback haul draft capital to move up. And how do you feel about it for the Browns and the Jaguars?
Well, I mean, I love it for the Browns, honestly. And the Jaguars, I kind of like it. It's a riskier maneuver, but if he's as good as we all think he is, it's certainly worth it. And if he's able to be impactful on both sides of it, he's certainly worth the picks. Honestly, it's worth it if he's great at one or the other. If he's great at one and good at the other, or above average at the other, I think it's worth it for a team that needs, and I know you said maybe as a compliment to Brian Thomas Jr.
Duo.
Yeah. Right. I mean, I just think that the more that I thought about it, and our show a couple of days ago helped me come to this realization in looking at the Jags roster, I think he's definitely a corner. He's definitely a corner. I know that Gabe Davis isn't great and De'Ami Brown isn't great, but I feel more comfortable with that, putting that out there with Trevor Lawrence than I do with their cornerbacks, especially since they have ends. They have good pass rushing ends, but they don't get a lot of pressure, and they're a heavy man coverage team. I feel like Travis Hunter's impact is much more needed with that team on the defensive side of the ball. And I think you and I came to the conclusion that it probably would be easier to be a full-time corner and a part-time receiver than the other way around. So, like, I think as we were entering this draft, we thought the Browns were going to draft him, and he was most certainly going to be a receiver there. And now I think it's certainly flipped.
So this is really interesting. I went through the entire range of emotions on this trade. Yeah. I really did, because we talked about this beforehand, and I was like, dang, I totally understand why the Browns might want to trade this pick. They have so many holes in their roster. Deshaun Watson essentially set the franchise back a decade, regardless of it. They didn't trade Myles Garrett, who's, future Hall of Famer, best defensive player in the team's history, to reload the draft capital. And then so when they're going up to the pick, I was like, I get it. They theoretically won the trade by value. They traded back to number 5. They got Mason Graham, who's an excellent player, but they passed over the generational player in this draft in Travis Hunter and the other elite prospect in Abdul Carter. And to me, that kind of sucks. Like, you get up to the top of the draft to get Travis Hunter. And Liam Cohen, who's obviously an offensive guy who's now in Jacksonville, Duval. I love that from Liam Cohen. How weird he is. As we know on this show, if you fail the introductory press conference, you have a way better chance of succeeding as a coach, because we need you to be a weird football guy. He said Travis Hunter is going to play primarily offense. So he's zagging on that, where he might be a situational corner. And when I look at it, it's like, yeah, you gave up a ton, but you went and maybe got a once in a lifetime prospect. And I say that because we talked on the last show about, and here's some of the stats on it. He's either the highest drafted cornerback ever or the highest drafted receiver since Calvin Johnson. He's 188 pounds, so he'd be the lightest receiver ever drafted this high. And I was thinking about that. I was like, damn, I really don't like physical outliers in the bottom end. And I was like, what would Howie think? And then the answer is, he is such an outlier in the upper range of everything.
His ability.
But also athleticism. Like, he's the bendiest, the most hands, he's the smartest. Like, when you think about the fact that defensively, the way he's able to play, like, people were saying his football IQ, here's the comp people were saying, Ed Reed. Ed Reed has a football IQ. So we're now talking about his comps. Some of the comps that people have given him are a brain like Ed Reed. Yeah. Hands like Odell Beckham, runs her out like Justin. Obviously, these are completely hyperbolic. Yeah, I get that.
You see me rolling my eyes. He doesn't have the Ed Reed brain, and it's impossible to have that at cornerback in the first place. I see all the plays that people are pointing to where it seems like he knows the route. He's a very smart player. He's super talented. He does have some deficiency when it comes to technique. I think he's going to be great.
Yeah.
But I think it's okay for us to leave this trade feeling good about both teams, because
totally.
Yeah, I know. I felt like it kind of there's a push to try to pick one or the other, and I'm fine with the Browns not getting him, because I don't think he makes the Browns that much better. I think he does make the Jags better.
Who's higher? Which team is their pants more about this? The Jags that gave up all the draft capital, or the Browns that passed on the generational player?
Yeah, I don't think either is, honestly. Like, I don't think either is.
I think the Browns have a slightly higher pant meter.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends on what you think the impact would be. Do you think that Travis Hunter would have made this team good enough to be competitive? And I know it's not all about winning the Super Bowl every year.
I don't.
But
on the Browns, I don't.
I think that, I think the reason why the Browns move was smart was because of the Deshaun Watson thing setting their franchise back. It's like they still have that albatross around their neck. So, like, I'm fine with getting Travis Hunter in that situation. I would have loved that for them. But I also think that, taking all those things into consideration, the best thing for this franchise right now is probably to try to reset for a future competitive time, and not try to patch it together while having this big cap hit on your books for a guy that can't even play. Like, that to me feels like you're trying to make a run with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah, I totally get that. You have to take your medicine if you're Cleveland. Like, what they, by making the worst trade in NFL history, by giving out the worst contract in NFL history, you're going to have these lean times. And, there was the chance to take their medicine with the Myles Garrett trade, which is a 30-year-old defensive end, and Garrett ended up staying. He's now paid like a quarterback. at about $40 million a year. And I thought that could be the thing where they rebuilt the cover. They get 2 or 3 first-round picks for him. So they had to do it one way or the other. The thing that sucks, I'm going to say this from the tortured fan base perspective. I get like the full rational, you won the trade value chart type of thing. The other thing is when you're a franchise like this, when you've been bad for this long and you have the chance to have Travis Hunter on your team to root for, that's the thing that's a tough pill to swallow because it's like someone who's that special. I got to pivot slightly from the football thing. Did you see that he told Lil Wayne that his fiance loves him and that he didn't know any of Wayne's music until she played it for him?
That was an old story, right? Did he?
Was it old?
I think so. I feel like I remember hearing this before.
I just saw the clip again after he got drafted.
He did it again.
I'm not sure if it was again. I just knew he was on stage. And I saw the clip on Twitter. So I hand up might have gotten got by a repost.
It's possible that I am misremembering this, but I feel like I remember hearing that before because it was another dagger in my heart of how old I am. I can't imagine that there's a cornerback who doesn't know a great artist, which means that obviously, a great hip hop artist. Like, there's no cornerback who doesn't know whoever is popping right now. I'm sure he knows who it is. It just suggests that I'm old because Weezy's one of my favorite rappers.
That's right. We got to see, geriatric Clay Matthews Jr. really act like an old white man on TV. So
there was plenty. There's always plenty of comedy in the draft.
Clay Matthews the third. Sorry.
Oh, it's 3 of them. Yeah,
I can't besmirch Jr.
He was so excited. I was pretty impressed that he didn't stumble more than he did because I could feel the nerves.
Yeah,
I can feel the nerves. Do you want to give Cam Ward some love, or we'll get to it eventually?
I just think it's simple. Like, they made the right pick. He is clearly the only elite quarterback in this draft. The thing that is,
I treated him like a tackle. Like, they treated him like they drafted a tackle first overall. Got an incredibly exciting quarterback in the most important position, going number 1 overall, and nobody.
I was about to say we had one highlight of him rolling left and throwing sidearm with Louis Riddick being like, he reminds me of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he's going to be Patrick Mahomes, but look at the elastic arm angle. And it's like, the thing I will say is, like, for first overall pick quarterbacks, he's as explosive and fun. And like, if the highlight package, the 4-minute highlight package is a time that was, if people don't realize how great of an athlete and how special the arm talent is, that was the chance to show him 4 minutes being like, oh, this is why he's different than the other quarterbacks in this draft. And I guess this is the entire Cam Ward experience wrapped up into this though. He's here to play football. Shedeur was there to drink Gatorade. As he said,
that's your favorite clip of their off-season trash talk and pre-draft workouts where they were talking trash. Yes, we know. You're a Cam Ward guy, not a Shedeur guy.
Well, there's certain guys where I'm sure you feel this way. Like, the first time I saw Cam Ward play at Miami, I was like, that guy's gonna be the first pick in the draft. I think I texted you that immediately. It's the same way I felt when Cam Newton played his. I did text that to I think both you and Bomani, but definitely Bomani. The first time I saw him play as a sophomore, I was like, he's going 1-1. So that was 4 picks off. It wasn't that bad.
Nope.
But it's how I felt the first time I watched, and he's obviously wasn't as good of a college player or as good of a prospect, but that's how I felt the first time I saw Cam Newton play at Auburn. And that's different. He won the Heisman Trophy, dragged them to a national championship, but it was just the idea that it's a quarterback week draft, and it was comparing him to like Shedeur Sanders in the same way Cam Newton was going to be against Jake Locker. And I was like, come on. Like, let's be real about this. We're going to get to the draft process, and this guy's going to be a slam dunk number 1 overall pick because he has tools the other guys don't. So, like, to me, it's like the Titans made the right thing. He's a serious person. Whether or not he'll be an NFL superstar, they drafted the right guy talent-wise.
Yeah, no, I think it's projecting how well he'll do. I mean, they're not completely a team that's completely bereft of any talent.
No.
Like, they're a good defensive front. They got Tyler Lockett. They just added him to go along with Calvin Ridley. Like, I think it'll be interesting to see what how well he plays. Hopefully they can find a way to take some pressure off of him and allow his athleticism. But it's going to be a roller coaster. Like, the idea that he can do a CJ Stroud or Jaden Daniels, let's not get too excited, Tennessee.
Yeah, I think you want to see flashes. I mean, this is the whole thing. You have a Callahan as your coach for the idea of developing the quarterback. And so in theory, you put those guys in place. That should be a pairing that develops the quarterback. That's the point of hiring that guy and drafting that quarterback. Um, do you want to talk? We should talk Shedeur now because
Yeah.
I have my list of some of the funny picks of the first round and my favorite picks of the first round that we can go through after this. But really, we should talk about Shedeur Sanders. Are you surprised that he fell out of the first round completely? Particularly after the Giants traded up, the Saints were Mel and everyone at the desk were saying that this is the spot for him at 9. Maybe the Saints would trade back into the first round. The Steelers passed on him. The Giants traded back in and took Jaxson Dart. Are you surprised how that went?
I am a bit surprised that he didn't go in the first round at all. Um, I recognize all the shortcomings that he has, and it's easily justifiable that he's not a first round pick, but it's also easily justifiable that he should have been a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's so many guys that are, I mean, most quarterbacks are to some degree projects, and the expectation is that you have to work on them. I think the thing that held Shador back a little bit was people don't view him as someone who can get much better.
Yeah,
Possibly is part of it is
very
like they don't
polished.
see the ceiling, and so when you hear a lot of the assessment of Shedeur Sanders, it sounds like the assessment that you make of a fully developed player. It's like he shows poise, he makes decisions consistently, he's accurate. If he is those things and you still don't see him as a starter, I think that's part of the reason why people are like, well, I'm not interested. And then there's the uniqueness of this draft where it didn't feel like there's a lot of teams looking for quarterbacks because so many of the quarterback hungry teams drafted some in the last couple of years that they're still um, either happy with or still unsure about.
Yeah, but do you think that's real? If this had been last year's quarterback crop, if there had been 3 guys who people felt great about, and then the McCarthy, Nix, Penix, I know that draft evaluators have put Cam Ward either just between Drake May and JJ McCarthy, or in that Drake May tier, depending on how people like him, or some people put him slightly lower. But I don't know if that's definitely true. I think if there were blue chip quarterbacks, teams would have taken them regardless.
Yeah, no, I mean I think you're right. If there were blue chip quarterbacks, but there aren't that number of blue chip quarterbacks in every
Yeah, last year
draft.
was unique.
So like I think
5 of them hit.
yeah, the
Yeah,
circumstances matter too, and I think you're obviously right that his talent and the projection on him matters a whole lot also. But like as you look down, I'm looking down the list of teams, and I mean we don't have to look through them now because we've talked about it so many times. It's like if the Saints didn't like him and the Steelers didn't like him, like everyone else is
or the
either
Giants, yeah.
committed to a quarterback or has a young enough quarterback that is not worth going in on Shedeur Sanders.
And the Browns, we should mention too. The Browns,
Yeah,
who
I
could
mean that's where he's going to end up, right?
Yeah,
Like,
he could go 33 tomorrow, and I'm there. There is the surprise there. One of the things you pointed out about him not going in the first round, there's value to actually not letting him slip. It's the Lamar
Yeah.
Jackson thing where you get the extra
fifth
year of the
round option.
contract if you trade up to 32 and get him, and that's a totally legitimate reason to bump up to that last pick if you think you can give up limited draft capital to get the guy for an extra year. Um, I'm also surprised he didn't go at all. I have not been the highest on him as a prospect. Obviously, the arm talent, the fact that I think I've talked about this a little bit with how I am probably now wrong about Bryce Young, but I don't like when people are like the skill that he has is just making magic out of nothing. Because how translatable is that to the NFL when you're not doing it against, Big 10, Big 12 defenders, when you're doing it against someone in the AFC North in week 14, it seems like a different ballgame. That magic seems to drive really quickly. And so I get that there are all these flaws with it, but the talent was still, he's a really productive player who was in the spotlight for a long time. And his cracks were, I don't know, giving bad interviews, maybe being slightly too weirdly polished and vlogging too much, along with the arm strength. And I do wonder, how much do you think this was about the prospect evaluation? How much do you think this was about the circus and the Dion of it all? And the fact that this is a really unique prospect in the way he's going to walk into your building and be the most likely the most famous guy on your team.
I mean, I absolutely think it matters. It's almost impossible to be able to predict how much. I doubt that it's explicit. My guess is no one is writing in their draft evaluation the parts of of the uniqueness of this that involve his father and the uniqueness of his personality and the uniqueness, I mean, probably personality, but the uniqueness of his celebrity. I don't think they're writing that in their draft profile, but I think that it's certainly something that's in their mind is like, do I want to deal with this? And while I agree that all quarterbacks are cocky, but they most of them say the things the way that they expect it or the way that we expect it to be said. They demonstrate the cocky in a way that is more conventional. And also it's like I do think that there's some part of teams that are like, if he were great, I'll bring the circus.
Yeah.
If you think that he's not great, don't bring it. And maybe there is no circus, but there will be more questions for him, more media than under normal circumstances. Dion will say something, whether it's positive or negative. There's something else, and football teams are very control oriented. So I think that whether they're consciously putting that into their calculation, I think that sneaks into the calculation to some degree. And I kind of think the Browns have 33 and 36, so I think it's kind of a really good place for him to go because I don't think the expectations will be super high for that team or for that player, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I'm really torn on it. Like the thing that I do think about a little bit is late first round quarterbacks in recent years, and like normally if you have the talent evaluation is a middle of the first round, a 20th, 25th prospect, you get pushed into the top 10. And so the fact that you don't get picked in the first round at all, like I do wonder. I know Jaxson Dart, they traded up to take him at 26. But I do wonder if teams are scared off being like, we don't want an EJ Manuel, a Kenny Pickett, this type of talent where we think if he's in this range, he's not worth taking at all. And I actually think that makes sense. Like I circled, spoiler alert, Dart as one of the funniest picks of the first round. Just like come on, man. Like what are the chances this actually works out? I'm not going to Josh Allen you and be like, this is the worst pick we've ever seen. He has no chance of working out. But like, this is someone who, when you watch college football, he certainly does not jump off the screen as an NFL quarterback. And now he's being put in New York behind a team. Yeah, he'll have Malik Neighbors, but they haven't figured out the offensive line in over a decade. I mean, I guess you're hoping that Daboll is able to, as he said, put some Josh Allen in him because he got a good year out of Daniel Jones. But that's nuts. He's not Josh Allen. And like, you know what? No one knew Josh Allen was going to be Josh Allen.
Right. But looking back at Josh Allen, if you're trying to repeat that, what you see out of Jaxson Dart is not the things that make Josh Allen special. Yeah.
Draft Jalen Milroe. If that's what you're looking for, draft Jalen Milroe.
That's a more accurate comp, but I think
neither one of them are accurate.
Yeah, I mean neither one of them are accurate comps, but I think that's the more.
I was doing an accuracy joke.
Oh, yeah, they can't. Yeah, they're not accurate. But Josh Allen learned how to be accurate. So yeah, I don't know. It's in that situation too. It feels like they are so desperate that at some point they're going to have to force him in there, and that was not the evaluation on Jaxson Dart. Was not like, hey, he's a ready to play guy. Yeah. Shedeur seemed more ready to play day one, and the shut guy seemed more ready to play day one. I mean, I don't think he is, but I'm saying the evaluation suggested that that's not who you want. So this organization is going to still be in this situation where you're talking about like Kenny Pickett. There's so many other good players who get drafted after those type of guys.
One thing for Dart is he is a very good athlete traits wise. I get him being above Shedeur that way. I mean, like, and I know that's why people wanted to like Tyler Shuck because he's huge and he's fast, but he's also, after 3 horrific injuries, just gets rid of the ball after 4 seconds, which I totally get why he's not on the board. But yeah, I don't know. This just seems like one of these picks we're gonna look up and be like, oh, they took Jaxson Dart at 26. That was funny. Is like these guys were doing anything to preserve their job, and you know how we feel about this. Like I understand that's part of the reality of being a GM or a coach in the NFL, but like you need to zoom out. You need to be able to do the Belichick or Arsene Wenger, who is the Arsenal manager. Is like, I tried to manage and develop talent like I was going to coach this team for 100 years. And this is a decision it was not made in that purview. It's a decision being made like, we need to preserve our jobs. We need a quarterback. We're expected to have a quarterback for this team.
I mean, it could also work.
Yeah. Look at Bo Nix. Everyone mocked Bo Nix a year ago.
Exactly the point I would make is Bo Nix fell into this what we thought was a bad situation, and he was not a prospect that we thought would go high, and he turned out to be pretty damn good. If the
Really good.
if well, let's not get carried away.
That was a really good rookie season. One of the better rookie seasons. Yeah.
It was a really good rookie season. I agree. But I think pretty damn good was good enough for me. I don't think really good is aggressive. It was a really good rookie season relative to the rest of the quarterbacks. So we call it really good. But that's neither here nor there. The point is
better season Caleb had.
Much better. If Bo Nix has that, or excuse me, if Jaxson Dart has the Bo Nix season, then Brian Daboll and them got jobs. They get extensions.
I mean, let's be clear though. He looked sick with Diesel Dart, and they had their matching mullets. You got too distracted by Emeka Egbuka.
Oh, yeah, that was my favorite one. Emeka Egbuka with the segregation house. Oh, I loved it. I loved the Plessy Ferguson Emeka Egbuka draft pick, where his white mom's family was on one side of the room and his black dad's family was on the other side of the room. And there was no mixing. There was no mixing. They showed them celebrating. The only white person, or the only black person that the white people touched was Emeka himself. It was great. Oh, man. It was my favorite part.
The funniest part is I was around on my phone during that. You were like, you got to rewind.
Like, I didn't even tell you why. It's like, you got to check it out. I wanted you to find it. It was, I'm sure you enjoyed it as much as I did.
It was tremendous. So, I mean, I guess we'll see by the time you're listening to this, we're going to be closer to Shedeur getting picked. We think he'll go to Cleveland. Maybe the Saints will go up to get him. Of those two, which do you think is a better situation? The Saints, who bolster their offensive line, or Cleveland, who has this good defense and Stefanski's a really good coach? People have talked about how Stefanski is actually a fit for Shedeur's skill set.
Yeah. So the better situation, the Saints or Cleveland?
Yeah.
That's a tough one to answer. I mean, I think we don't know the quality of the Saints' new coaching staff, so I guess you should go with Cleveland. We do know the history of Cleveland quarterbacks. We also do know that Cleveland, you can go to the division. That ain't somewhere you want to be.
Yeah.
That ain't somewhere you want to be. So I think I've talked myself into wanting to go to New Orleans and hoping Kellen Moore knows what he's doing.
Yeah. That's where I followed it too. Just also like drafting Kelvin Banks, who's a very, very good athlete, and Fuaga. Like, you theoretically have both of your tackles, or at least half of your line situated. Fuaga's good as a rookie. Who knows what will happen with Olave with the concussions? But Kellen Moore has at least been a competent offensive coach, and like, I don't like him as much as Stefanski, but just the situation, I think there's a better chance of this guy who's not the biggest or best athlete being upright in that system. Which, I mean, I guess Cleveland's had a pretty good offensive line too for years. So actually, neither one of them are horrible for a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland's offensive line has gotten worse. They've lost some pieces in the last few years, but it does feel like, though, Cleveland is at the end of a particular window, and the Saints haven't quite opened one yet. You know, and I guess they have accepted that they are at the end of their window with their new coach hire, and maybe they're going to start over. It doesn't feel like the Browns are fully there yet. Yeah, finally. Yeah, the Browns don't feel like they're fully there yet.
The Saints have put themselves in this bill or pushed off the bill over and over and over again, and extended their credit line and are in cap hell. And so maybe this will be the first step if they have a quarterback being like, let's reset the decks. All right. Do you have any favorite or least favorite picks of the first round, or do you want me to run through some of them?
I mean, I think I really enjoyed, as we got the DB started coming off the board, I enjoyed the picks for what they meant for the teams, but I also enjoyed the personalities of Maxwell Hairston for the Bills.
Oh my God.
It was just felt so joyous and energetic, and of course Malachi Starks had one of the best walkouts ever joining the Ravens. It was pretty fun, and they both gave Roger. Do you think Roger works out in preparation for these daps? Because you got to give 32 hard daps to strong people. They get lifted up. Like, he got to train for these daps.
Yeah, no, he's ready. He also is like, you know, he matches the energy in a really awesome way.
He does. Like, it's pretty cool. He's so excited for them.
I was about to say, I don't actually think it's fake. Maybe I've just bought into it. I think he's genuinely excited for these kids to like fulfill their dreams.
I also feel like if you're on stage and watch these kids walk out with the energy that they have. Like, it's hard not to meet that energy. Like, I
Totally.
know, I know what you're thinking is that Adam Silver would never, but because you are clearly an Adam Silver hater. But I think it's anybody on that stage in that moment would be fired up if a kid came out there and was amped for his team. And the golden, I forgot about the golden
The
draft
golden
pick.
one, yeah.
That was
We're now
awesome,
getting into
man.
some of my favorite picks. Golden. Was
Okay,
like,
my bad.
No,
I'll
we'll get
let
to
you,
it.
I'll let you
But
run down.
so you were talking about Silver. The person who I actually, so you know how the NBA people have lied about their heights forever,
Yeah.
and they've like recently tried to correct it by measuring. They had the year where they measured everyone barefoot, and people still sort of lied about it. And they, I used to, when people were lying about their heights, it was always the David Stern test because he was obviously very short, and the prospects would go up and stand next to him. I'd be like, "Ooh, this guy's a real 7-footer. Look at how he's towering over Stern." Or you'd see someone who was like, "Is he an undersized point guard?" Yeah, he stood next to Stern. That does not look right. This guy's going to be too small for the league. That was always my favorite commissioner handshake guy for that exact, because it was an extra layer of scouting. You got a second in person scout before you got to see them in their situation.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I got a couple more, but I'll let you fire off some.
Well, no. So favorite picks, Matthew Golden to Green Bay.
Yeah.
Off the jump, that's one of my favorite ones. Like we heard earlier in the offseason,
You know I like speed.
Yeah, and this is the guy. Like when you look at the receivers in this draft, I'm actually going to take Hunter out of this because I don't know exactly how you classify him. I'm comparing him to Tet and Igbuka. Like they're all so different. Tet's the big physical guy, the strong hands. Yeah. Igbuka's he's the operator. He's the guy who's like going to be a slot. He has a really, really high floor. And then Golden is the 429, the always open guy, the freak athlete, and the guy who can be a true number one receiver. I think if you actually laid out the three of them, who's got the best chance of being a true X, it's Golden. And this is a team where, despite the fact that we like all four receivers in the room, even though Christian Watson's not going to play for most of the year for Green Bay because he's coming off the late season ACL, like they were in desperate need of a number one. And Josh Jacobs actually specifically said, like, our receivers are great, but we need the guy. And they went out and got him. And it's also just hilarious irony that Aaron Rodgers was complaining about drafting a first-round wide receiver for a decade. And then they're like, no, we're actually going to draft Jordan Love. And then this time they were like, no, we found our guy. We're getting Golden, who a lot of people thought was going to go 12 to the Cowboys. And he dropped all the way to them at 22. And, like, to me, that's like a perfect fit. And then he came on stage and the huge smile, the huge energy, took the mic, fired up the crowd in Green Bay. And like that, I really liked it beforehand. And now I'm like, sure, he's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. Like that moment, I feel like that was the first. It wasn't the first one, but I feel like the late round guys who were just like had so much relief and were so thrilled. Mm-hmm. He was like the beginning of that. I also felt like the hairlines immaculate. Like
unbelievable.
They were getting a little. They was getting some A. There was some PEDs in the hairline. Like everybody is not that strong. I refuse to believe it, but they all look.
They're young, dude. They're 22.
No, you don't understand. You never had a shape up before. That's not. Yeah. They are not solid. They're not solid black. No matter how old you are, the solid black shape ups were looking incredible. But nothing wrong. Sometimes I gotta lie to them. You got to lie to them a little bit.
You're telling me we had 32 Paul Georges, 32 Jalen Rose experience.
We did 32. Well, no, not 32.
Yeah, there's Will Campbell out here looking like Peter Schrager.
Will Campbell, man, like you gotta get my guy Taylor, but he's O-line, man. I guess we should just be happy that he was in a suit at all.
Totally disagree. I like that he had an off the rack suit.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
He's there. He's there to maul defensive tackles, not to look good.
he got that suit that week. That was he did not see a Taylor. He did not discuss it. He didn't have no pictures printed on the inside of his suit. There was nothing to it. He was like, "Ooh, I like green. Give me that."
He's such a perfect lineman too. Like he had an emotional response. He's crying. He's got snot running down his face, and he's just like. But he's like, I'm here for the logo on my hat, playing for this franchise. And I was like, oh my God, you are a lineman. You're perfect. And this is after him being like, if I gave up sacks, I'd be working at Amazon. Like, I understand I'm in a make or miss league. And like, I started for 3 years as a 3-time All-American. So like, here's where I'm at. Think about my arms later.
I mean, I guess again, I was about to make a slight criticism that I know you were gonna spin into a positive. Like, take your off the rack suit sleeve and wipe your nose. Stop licking your lips. It's gross. Stop it.
No,
We
no,
see
no.
the snot running down your face. Get a wipe. Get a
He's not
wipe. Don't lick your lips.
he's not a DB. He's going to be in a game and he's going to himself rather than going to the sideline. You're telling me he's worried about, he's going to mark Schlereth to not come out of the game on third down. And you're telling me he's worried about a little snot on his face?
I mean, don't eat it. Don't eat it on TV. You don't got to drink it. That's all I'm saying.
Dog factor increased in that moment.
I knew you would like it more. Like, just give me a little wipe, man. You can use your sleeve. You probably got a hanky in your. Nah, he didn't have no pocket square. There's no way that he went the mile to get the pocket square.
Next pick I really liked was actually Amari and Hampton to the Chargers. And like obviously he's Harbaugh wants to run the football. This guy is exceptionally talented. His like quickness for a big guy, like he gets up to top speed and he's a really good receiver. He's a 3-down back. And it's an interesting situation because there's a gulf between Ashton Genty and everyone else in this class talent wise. But he is on the Raiders on a team that is not set up behind a great offensive line. People, maybe they should have just taken Membu, not because he's more talented than Ashton Genty, but just because you want to build an offensive line. And I do wonder if you're coming out of this first round and you're looking at situation and the fact that they're both exceptionally talented guys, like, are we going to look up? And I don't think anyone thinks that, even though he's incredibly talented, that Bijan Robinson is significantly less talented than Jahmyr Gibbs, but part of it's the situation for why he succeeds, because running back, we know how important it is, but we also know that it's something that's dependent on situation in a really unique way. Are we going to look up in a year from now and think that Amari and Hampton had a much better first year than Ashton Genty because of the situation and because he's with a coach in particular who wants to feature a running back and pound the football?
I think Pete Carroll wants to feature running back and pound the football. Also, that's not the issue. The issue is the surroundings of it. It's one of the picks that I hated the most. And I hated it because, I wanted to see Ashton Genty in a situation where he could go out and be exceptional. So maybe he's exceptional enough that it won't matter. But I don't know the running back for whom that is. If you don't have a quarterback that can threaten the opponent's passing game, you don't have a great offensive line, and their best receiver is a tight end, which is not that's not forcing teams into too high and making the box lighter. Even if the tight end is an incredible athlete, you can still be in tight. And so, I don't like that for that reason, but he's still going to be awesome. I think it's still possible that he has a good season. But, I think if you made me choose one, I would choose Hampton in the situation over Genty being more talented. The Loveland pick for the Bears, I just thought about that particular selection because Genty, it was my hope that he would slide to the Bears because I thought that would be a fun look. And then when he left the board, I assumed the Bears would go somewhere else.
Tyler Warren, maybe?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought Tyler Warren at 10.
Yeah. That seems reasonable. But, they went Loveland over Warren. But, I guess Loveland he's just more of a receiver than a tight end, which
it's really interesting. This is something that I feel like Ben Johnson's going to get his guys. He's getting guys that fit the same way that they played in Detroit. Even it's like getting Joan Jackson, who's someone who just succeeded with him in Detroit and not in LA. And Loveland is a much more Laporta style tight end compared to Tyler Warren, who I actually think ended up in a perfect spot. He was on one of my favorite picks. He's someone who's going to want to play out of the backfield a little bit, do a bunch of different things, make things easier, and that's great for Shane Steichen. Whether or not Anthony Richardson can get on the ball, TBD. Maybe Daniel Jones, but I think coaching wise, it's a really good fit. But so were you a fan of the Loveland pick? Because I know he's a stud. Obviously a really good player, but I was surprised he went over Warren, who when we saw in the college football playoff, I was like, whoa, this guy's a pro, and with him with the ball is crazy.
Yeah, I was surprised that they went Loveland over Warren, but I'm still a fan of the pick. He's a talented player. in that situation, and they keep doubling down on helping out their quarterback. Uh, I'm liking Ben Johnson more and more the more I hear him
Yeah.
talk, and the more decisions that they make headed into the season. Like I'm more excited about this situation, but yeah, there's gonna be no reason for Caleb not to ball out. I mean, I guess we said the same thing last year, but then we blamed it all on all the coaches and everything else. We'll see what happens this year.
Yeah. I mean, I think if this is a situation where he's set up to succeed, Ben Johnson should put the right things around him. A couple of my other favorite picks, and you're going to love this one. I'm going to the end of the first round, and it is almost in order. Malachi Starks to the Ravens.
Yeah.
The rich get richer. You talked about his walkout.
Was that
and how
him who
intense he
said
is.
no? That wasn't.
That was
Jahad Campbell who said
The richer
get rich. I loved it. Anyway, go ahead. Malachi Starks. Yeah, that secondary is getting better.
Yeah, it's just like this is a perfect Ravens pick. I mean, they could have taken Eamon and had two absolute behemoth safeties.
Pterodactyls.
But what they went with was the same reason that they picked Hamilton, which is the most productive defensive back in the draft, the highest football IQ of the safeties that were available, and a perfect complement for everything that Kyle Hamilton wants to do, where they can let him sort of play that strong safety role that he had to abandon midway through the season. And like this is perfect for them. And it's exactly what the Ravens always do. They get this incredibly high floor, smart player who's going to be plug and play. And I mean, you see it with Roquan, you see it with Kyle Hamilton, you're going to see it with Malachi Starks. It's guys who are legitimately quarterbacks in the defense, and this has been going on with the Ravens for 25 years, that they always end up with these guys who are able to sort of control the game in certain ways. And I love that pick. And like, as it was happening, I texted you, I was like, oh my God, they're going to get Jihad Campbell or Malachi Starks.
No, I love the Malachi Starks selection. I loved it more when we heard him talk because it was consistent with everything that you read about him. And I think your point is perfect. It's underappreciated how important having a good brain on your defense is, and having it distributed around your defense to have multiple safeties that are incredibly smart and versatile. Also linebackers that are the same way, like getting people in and out of coverages, the ability to remind people. And I know this is like something that you may not take, you might take for granted, but being able to remind people before the snap what film study was that week and what to be expecting. Like these are things that go underappreciated and unnoticed. And then someone gets an interception and we're like, oh, that receiver or that corner is incredibly good. And don't take into account that they may have gotten a heads up because of the formation and alignment and because the safety was talking to him. And it seems like Malachi Starks is that guy. To add another guy like that to a team that plays very smart in their cover 4 system, like it's very focused. While a lot of teams don't need safeties to be super smart and athletic and instinctive, for the Ravens to do what they want to do most, which is probably stay in cover 4 and allow the safeties to. The reason why cover 4 and having good safeties matters is because you can be aggressive to the run and also have a too high defense if your safeties are smart. So it's kind of if you play cover 4 well and you get good reads and you have smart guys, it's a bit of a cheat code. It's really hard to do, but if you have two safeties that can do it well, I think particularly on first and second down, it's kind of a cheat code to have guys who read and react as fast as those guys do and who are as smart as they are. So
yeah,
I love what it could do potentially for their defense.
It was also just seemed like an area of need. I mean, they put I can't remember his name. They put the little guy back there in the middle of the season to free up the defense. I apologize to the undersized safety. I'm forgetting his name. But this was something that they really wanted to do last year, and they had to abandon it in the middle of the season to sort of go back to their 2023 defense to get it back on track. So this should give them more optionality. And then we've mentioned him briefly, Jihad Campbell. Like when it happened, I was like, oh no, he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle. And like I know that they're the shoulder injuries, and they mentioned the knee injury on the draft, but like when you watch the tape of him, you're like, this is one of the best defensive players in the draft, period. I can't believe he didn't go. And then if he had gone anywhere from 7 to 12, I would have been like, all right, sure. He's a San Francisco 49er. Like he's going to replace Dre Greenlaw and be next to Fred Warner. This tracks. This like, oh, the Jets want to load up on oh, sure, whatever. Put him next to Quincy Wilson. Like that he was that good on tape and that explosive and versatile. Like they compared him to Zach Bond on the draft telecast. And I was like, yeah, because he can rush the passer. Like they're gonna put him out there and let him like wreak havoc at times, assuming health aside. And like this is a classic Howie pick. He just bet on the talent that was probably drafted. I mean, I guess most people would, but he was 20 spots
No.
below where he could have gone.
I think the luxury, it's just the luxury of having a team that's so well built, which they've earned. It's like the last couple of seasons, they got guys and they didn't feel pressure to put them in right away. They were able to work them in more slowly. And when you have a pretty loaded roster, which they obviously do, you can take some of these, and it's not even risk, but just like have the patience to draft guys and know. So I think a lot of teams are more likely going to pass on a guy who they know isn't going to be much of an impact in the first season. They can't afford to draft players for next year or for the year after that. The Eagles could never play him and still win the Super Bowl this year, which I think most teams would not imagine that their first round pick could be a miss and they could still have success.
And that's the last pick that I really liked, which takes it the same way as the Kansas City Chiefs with Josh Simmons. And it's just, to me, it's a worthwhile risk of, I mean, everyone was saying he was probably going to be the best tackle in this class. I don't know what the patella injury, it's not like the ACL where we sort of know how they come back from it. But to me, you've already heard Mahomes say that they're going to unleash the passing game this season, which I'm sure everyone's excited about. Like, please, for the love of God, don't be boring anymore. You know, at that point, bet on the talent, and we know that the Chiefs can coast through parts of the regular season. So if he's not ready to be 100% until week 8 or week 10, like that's still going to be a massive swing for them if they end up with a legitimate tackle at that spot.
How'd you feel about the Shamar Stewart to the Bengals? I mean, and how it relates to like Trey Hendrickson, or I mean, they can play them together or
play them together.
Yeah,
anything. Like, don't give up defense. I honestly like. It's not that I've cooled on Shamar Stewart. I just have no idea.
Yeah.
I have like it is like the more, and even like some of the athletic score stuff, the fact that he obviously is off the charts, freakishly athletic, and looks like the build, like he's a total stud. He didn't do agility testing at the combine, and I actually think that could have been illustrative to, is this guy a Myles Garrett athlete, or does he lack some of the bend? If we could have seen him do some of that stuff, the short area quickness stuff. I don't know. There are a few picks that I thought were a little bit puzzling, including, Washington took Connerly, and I wanted.
That was fun listening to you go from not loving the pick to completely on board with it in a matter of 2 minutes was pretty fun.
So here's my thought process. It never crossed my mind that Jahad Campbell or Will Johnson were going to be on the board. It never really crossed my mind that Mike Green was going to be on the board, particularly after Atlanta traded up and gave up way too much to get James Pierce Jr., who I know is talented, but there are other concerns there with commitment to football and X, Y, and Z. But I thought Mike Green was going to go there. I thought he was going to be off the board. So then it's like it's ticking towards the Commanders pick. I'm like, holy Jahad Campbell, Will Johnson, Mike Green are all going to be on the board. Sure, Jahad Campbell's not positioned to need the way that edge or corner is, but he can rush the passer. I was like, this is great. 3 legitimate studs on the board. And they took Connerly. And Connerly, the first time we talked about the draft months ago, I was like, I want Washington to take this guy. He's a great athlete at tackle. but I got greedy because I was like, I didn't realize these other guys would be available at massive positions of need. I was able to talk myself into it quickly just because the franchise is keeping Jaden Daniels upright. Let's be very clear about this. Don't just build a wall, build a moat and then a wall and put archers on top of the wall. And I like that Adam Peters is trying to do that. And this guy's an awesome athlete. And sure, he can play guard until Cosme's back, or play guard this season and slide over afterwards. Like he's an awesome athlete, and like keeping that guy upright. Like, sure, if we have to score 50 every week, we'll do it.
I love it. I'm excited for you and your new tackle and keeping your quarterback healthy. Yeah, those are all the picks that I particularly cared about. Yeah, I hit them all. You good? You got it all off your chest?
The last two that I want to do quickly. The Cowboys going guard at 12, and I know Booker's an awesome player.
At your rivals.
Well, taking us like a guard who is an awesome player but is athletically deficient at 12 when people were like, please get Dak a receiver, I thought was interesting. And then the other one, and this is a player I love, and I like Booker too, but Jahdae Barron went to Denver. And I thought that was really confusing because I thought that's where Marion Hampton was going to go. And I know that Jahdae Barron can play in the slot, he can play some safety. But if you're talking about one area that's not need, it's Patrick Surtain and Riley Moss.
Right. Yeah, I was surprised by that. But I mean, I think if you want to play defense the way that they play defense, like you can never have enough cornerbacks that you're comfortable with. Like they want to play man coverage all game long. And if you are completely reliant on, I mean, you'll be reliant on 3 guys at least, maybe 4 at times to be comfortable in man coverage. So like I don't hate it as a choice because it's more vital to their defense than a running back would have been to their offense, I guess. Yeah. I was surprised by it also, but I guess that's the way that I would rationalize it if I were them.
I mean, it'd be really interesting. That's a team that I would circle to see if they're going to try and get Travion Henderson to be that Kamara type back for Sean Payton in round 2.
And you got a lot of good running backs in this draft, so
amazing running back draft. Will Johnson still on the board. Like there's legitimate, like this is one of the most interesting things about this draft. It might have lacked the quarterbacks at the top or some of this, like the receivers, but there is still a bunch of cornerback, defensive line talent. Really deep draft in this stuff. Like there could be some guys who end up being blue chippers in the second round.
All right, Charlie. Appreciate you, buddy. I'm gonna go to sleep and wake up in like 3 hours and yell about this on Get Up with some people.
Hey, you did great.
You did better. Thank you, Charlie. Thanks to all the great producers. And I'm going to sleep.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.